and prisoner at FCI Seagoville has alleged in a complaint filed in February that Josh Duggar's jail has cruel circumstances, including the storage of bug-ridden food near garbage and the denial of medical attention. Child pornography accusations landed 36-year-old Josh in Dallas, Texas's FCI Seagoville, where he is now serving a 151-month term. The U.S. Sun has unique access to a court case in which a prisoner has just sued the institution, claiming inhumane conditions. Inmate Jedidiah Peterson sued FCI Seagoville on February 26, 2024. He alleges that the prison's wardens committed human rights violations since he had mental distress while there. Jedidiah submitted an email from November 8, 2023, in her complaint to a warden. In his letter, he laid out his grievances with the following points. I write this letter to formally demand an immediate cessation of all inhumane treatment and actions taken against myself at the Federal Correctional Institution Seagoville. As alleged, I have been denied medical services, my food has been stored next to trash, and my daily meals have been under 2,000 calories. Staff members have verbally assaulted me. There has been a vocational program, grievance procedures, a secure environment, 400 minutes of communication with the outside world, free speech, physical health care, and mental health care. All of this, he said, must end immediately. According to the email, these are all inhumane conditions under human rights for all humans. The objective of the letter is to inform you of the situation and urge that the institution immediately cease its acts that violate human rights and dignity. If you need to attend sick call, follow the process and request in the AM when the nurse comes around, was the email response from the warden's secretary. If you feel the need to contact a staff member immediately, but it is outside of the sick call hours, please do so. Send them a cop-out if you need a psychologist, and they'll meet you in the prison. Josh Duggar will be behind bars until 2032 after the Supreme Court rejected his appeal of his conviction for child sex abuse photos. Proper serving quantities of meals are provided in accordance with the national menu. Use the cop-out option to ask food service any queries you may have about extra food service. The national level establishes the policy that determines the minutes for each inmate's communication. You may use your account to send emails as well as ordinary letters, depending on your costs. Jedidiah asserts in a separate email from the same day that he has been refused medical treatment for 3 consecutive days despite his repeated requests to be examined for seizures or some other issues related to brain issues. In response, health services informed him of the available doctor's appointment times and suggested that he consult with the unit nurse. Could you kindly refrain from keeping our food and carts adjacent to the garbage cans? Jedidiah asked food service in an email dated November 7, 2023. This is really heartless. Another email he sent detailed an alleged event that occurred on October 24, 2023, when a prisoner complained about the presence of maggots on their lunch trays. Someone else in the prison, according to Jedidiah, was talking about the food trays that had maggots in them and suggesting that the other convicts should have saved the trays with maggots. Inhumane living conditions since November 21, raw sewage inside the jail over 24 hours, and myself forced to live with sewage, Jedidiah said in an email to the warden on November 22, 2023. He was seeking $494,658,83. In response to the case, FCI Seagoville remains silent. Plaintiff is no longer imprisoned at FCI Seagoville or in the custody of the Bureau of Prisons, BOP. The court instead said, on the other hand, plaintiff has not updated the court with his present residence. Promptly after the filing of the lawsuit on February 28, 2024, the court reminded the plaintiff that they were obligated to tell the court of any change in their address or risk having this case dismissed. May 16 was the formal dismissal date of the lawsuit. The United States Sun reported that the Federal Bureau of Prisons, for privacy, safety, and security reasons, the Federal Bureau of Prisons does not comment on matters related to pending litigation, ongoing legal proceedings, or ongoing investigations. When asked for comment, FCI Seagoville did not immediately get back to the U.S. Sun. This is not the first instance of a lawsuit being filed against FCI Seagoville, according to a recent story in the U.S. Sun. One inmate did so after allegations of physical aggression by a fellow prisoner. And convicts said that staff members knew he was in fear of his life, when they reintegrated him into society on October 6, 2022. A prisoner who was paid by other inmates to do the assaulting allegedly attacked the prisoner on July 27, 2022. After the medical staff examined the inmate, they sent him to the Special Housing Unit, a secure facility for inmates who represent a threat to other inmates or the public. "I told staff, I'm afraid for my life and can't remain here," the complainant said. "I was readmitted to the public on September 16th, but now my life is in danger once again." The suffering that occurred by the gross negligence of the staff at this institution led him to seek monetary value as compensation. Despite being given ample time to reply to the court's questioning, the convict did not do so, leading the judge to dismiss the case on December 19. The prisoner has reportedly been transferred, as reported by the Bureau of Federal Prisons. The jail doesn't necessarily conduct sick call on the planned days, which leads convicts to often experience medical negligence, according to an insider who previously informed the U.S. Sun. "There has been no medical therapy for my family member's ailment in over 2.5 years, the source said. "They keep assuring him that he is on the list, and he has inquired. After more than a year on the waiting list, he still hasn't had an optometrist appointment, even though he needs glasses. A member of my family has had the common cold or COVID in the past. On occasion, it takes a few days before he receives any kind of care. According to someone I know, her husband is always sick because he's just constantly cold and undernourished," the informant said. At the time, the U.S. Sun asked FCI Segoville for comment on sick call, but they did not react. According to the source, who spoke with the U.S. Sun earlier, the prisoners are put in an environment where they are more likely to become sick. The source informed the U.S. Sun that the food they get is often over its expiration date. They're usually a couple of weeks over their expiration date, which is awful. This is similar to milk. Things that can't possibly have an expiration date. So far in the future, a batch of cereal became viral because it had bugs, and everyone stopped eating it. Prison officials run out of food kind of often, the source proceeded to claim. If you can't afford to purchase food in the commissary, you're going hungry, according to the source, because the amounts are little and it's only ever been a 1 or 2 day event at a time. Prior to his transfer into a newly rebuilt dorm with exclusive privileges and facilities, Josh was claimed to have done so by the U.S. Sun. In Dorm 6, Josh's dorm, they have completed the wall painting and floral arrangements. A source informed the U.S. Sun that it had been transformed into an honors dormitory. Because it is an honors dorm, they are entitled to certain perks and improvements to the building. Appliances such as microwaves, washers and dryers, and more are available. Their goal is to establish a dormitory of model inmates. Inmates residing in the dormitories, according to the source, can't have any disciplinary actions in a certain amount of time, have to have a job, and must sign a code of conduct agreement. The source thinks Josh is being given preferential treatment, even though he doesn't meet the requirements to reside in the dorm. Josh is considered an exception because he is getting a degree. Even though he doesn't work apparently, his sentence to SHU a few years ago would have precluded him from residing there under the regulations, but they've chosen to waive that for him. After allegations surfaced that Josh had smuggled in a mobile phone, he was briefly placed in solitary confinement. In December 2021, Josh Duggar, who was a member of 19 Kids and Counting, received a 151-month jail term for collecting and uploading photographs of child sex assault. A chronology of the ex-reality star's legal troubles is shown here. In May 2019, after an investigation by Homeland Security investigators, Josh was originally suspected of downloading data that included sexual abuse of children. Josh was working at a car dealership in November when agents from Homeland Security raided his computer. Josh was taken into custody and detained without bond at a prison in Arkansas on April 29, 2021. Receiving and having photos of child sex abuse was one of the charges against him at a hearing that took place the next day via Zoom at the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Arkansas. He entered a not guilty plea. From November 30, 2021 to December 9, 2021, a federal courthouse in Fayetteville, Arkansas, was the site of Josh's trial. His culpability was based on his knowledge of and access to child sex abuse materials. Josh received a 12-year federal jail term and a fine and special assessment of $50,100 in May 2022. The defense team representing Josh subsequently filed an appeal with the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, but their request was dismissed in the latter half of 2023. Not long after that, Josh's lawyer filed an appeal for a new trial, citing the fact that federal officials had refused to let Josh phone them as they were arresting him. Josh had his request denied once again on June 24, 2024. In April 2021, Josh was taken into custody and faced charges related to the possession and receipt of child pornography. Following an almost 2-week trial in Arkansas, he was adjudged guilty. In May, Josh received a 151-month federal prison term, and in June of 2022, he was moved to FCI Seagoville. In October 2022, Josh's defense team sought to have his conviction overturned and a fresh trial scheduled. One of their claims was that, 15 months prior to his detention, federal authorities raided his auto dealership and confiscated Josh's phone as he attempted to call his lawyer. The documents state that he communicated with the agents in the absence of legal representation. The Supreme Court formally rejected the appeal in 2024, after a denial in November 2023. Anna, Josh's wife of 36 years, has been seen visiting their 7 small children in jail, indicating that they are still married.